As the cost of securing football players continues to rise, teams are increasingly turning to data science to make more informed decisions. Smaller clubs within Europe use it to try and gain a competitive edge over their big budget rivals. So how has the rise of data in football transformed the sport in such a short space of time?
Hello and welcome to Football Now from the Lusail Stadium in Qatar. When it comes to the way that football clubs analyse matches and scout players, there has been no greater revolution in the modern game than the collection and application of data. Nowadays, scouting a player with just your eyes is actually seen as a little bit old school. Most teams now employ data scientists to interpret thousands of games logged by data specialists. So just how does the action we see on the pitch get turned into data off it?
So all those data points are being collected manually. So we have per game, we have 2 operators who are being supervised by a team lead as well. So there's one for the home team, one for the away team, who collect all that information manually. So every shot a player takes, it's been manually inputted by an operator. We collect passes. The computer is going to calculate if this was in fact a long pass or a short pass. That means that every specific moment in the game, when you have 22 players, you only collect information about one player. And if you then think about the fact that when you have a 90-minute match, each player would have around 2 minutes the ball in his possession. So that means you cover actually only a fraction of what this player is doing. So that's what we call on-the-ball metrics. The focus is shifting more towards the off-the-ball metrics, that the camera will track players automatically, and we have operators who identify the players correctly, so we know that we monitor the correct players, assign the right data points to the right players, and that's a fully automatic process. That's what teams want to know. So what is my team doing? Not what is this individual player doing when he has the ball?
Of course, it's also changed the game for those watching, with phrases such as expected goals or XG now very much part of the vocabulary of an average football fan. But what is it, and how is it calculated?
What the expected goal value is telling you is that, okay, given a specific opportunity, so taking into consideration lots of different factors, such as the distance to the goal, the type of assist, if it's a header or a shot, if there's players in the way that could block the shot, the position of the goalkeeper, all these factors make it a very big chance or rather a small chance. So from 0 to 1, or you could also put it in a percentage, like from 0 to 100. So we've been collecting this information, the data around shots for decades already. So we have a huge database of shots that have been made in the past, and we use historical data to predict performance that's happening right now.
Let's now take a look at a game that on paper looks equal.
West Ham and Aston Villa drew 1-1 at the London Stadium last season. Both teams took 13 shots, each with 5 shots on target. But the data collected by expected goals tells the full story of the match. Aston Villa had an XG of 0.66, while West Ham had an XG of 2.02, meaning that they failed to capitalise on better quality of chances to win the game. Looking at the data this closely gives us extra context to understand why West Ham will feel, given the chances they created, why they should have won the game and taken all 3 points.
Due to the difference in budget, some smaller teams around Europe are turning to data and analytics to try and gain an advantage. FC Midtjylland in Denmark, along with Brentford and Brighton of the Premier League, are just some of the clubs who've invested heavily in data science to try and gain that competitive edge, to varying degrees of success. So, how is data levelling the playing field between the haves and the have-nots?
Brentford and Brighton are great examples. I think Brighton probably on the bigger perspective because of just how broad it actually is. The scouting network in Brighton is ridiculous. Right? I think Brentford get their plaudits for their Danish work, but actually the work that Brighton do is now in South America, it's in Japan, it's in everywhere. Right? I think we've just about covered the planet now. When you see, your top clubs, City, even Liverpool, because they, financially they still are at the top. Manchester United, the amount of money that these teams have had for the last 10 years, 20 years, it's been the case of you can't compete. If you can't compete with them financially, you have to do it a little bit different. But I think when you actually look at the disparity between the teams under that period, it's very, very open. I think when you look under 4th downwards, I think all the way down to about 10th, a lot of teams compete with each other. And that has to be to do with, sort of the data now.
Not only do we see teams use data to help win matches, but players also rely on information specific to them to improve their performance and also prolong their careers. Former USA international Jay DeMerit spent his twilight years with MLS team Vancouver Whitecaps and says that data on his physical recovery was imperative to making sure he was in peak condition on match day.
I remember as I got older, 33, 34, those are kind of the last years of my career. They used the data to make sure that I'd be fit on the game day. And as a 34-year-old to go, hey, I think maybe on Thursday, we're going to keep Jay really light because his recovery based on the data is showing that hard day, Tuesday, Wednesday, is showing that Thursday should be a light day for him because he's an older player. That's where I think the data becomes even more important from a layered approach. It's not just like how many duels did you win, what's your top speed, what's the distance covered. It's like your recovery is longer right now on the Thursday. So let's keep him light. Let's not put him in that hard training session.
As data continues to reshape the way football is played and analysed, will the beautiful game become something more of an exact science? Let us know if you think the reliance on science is here to stay using the hashtag #FootballNowDataRevolution. That's all we've got time for from the Lusail Stadium here in Qatar. We'll see you next time. Bye for now.